I'm just so used to being attacked for everything I say. It's like, at this point, I'm like, all right, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call me a mean name? What would that feel like? What would it feel like to see
Yeah.
myself called something horrible in every newspaper in the country? Oh, wait,
Yeah.
I've done that.
So what was it like for you to sort of be someone that was supposed to be talking about the news, but also for a lot of the time you were kind of making news. I mean, everyone knows the what happened with Trump and the debate, but that you sort of got sucked into news too. And in the movie, there's a line where Nicole Kidman, as you basically says that
No, no,
you didn't
Charlize
want.
Theron.
Sorry, Charlize Theron, where she says, that you basically saying, you didn't want to be making the news. I assume that's pretty
I didn't want to
much
be the
how you
story.
feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I said I'm not going to be the story, and I don't want to be the story, and I was the story after that debate, and then I hated it, and I have hated being the story every time it's happened. I see the journalists as on the sidelines, not as players on the field. And Trump to some extent grabbed me and put me on the field, and the Roger Ailes thing did too. And then just I don't know, once you get well known, the sleazy media takes a big interest in you and starts following you around. And they're not all bad. Some guys are good. There was actually a sweet guy right after I left NBC. All these paparazzi were outside of my apartment, and I couldn't like leave without getting. And this one guy, he was from the Post. He got his shot. He's like, and then he goes, "This is such bullshit, Megyn. You can't say anything anymore." So like, there are real people out there. They're not all bad, but I don't like being the topic of the news. I have asked myself many times why that keeps happening. And I think people aren't used to seeing like somebody they can't figure out, somebody who's sort of unapologetically strong,
Hmm.
especially a woman. We're out there, but like it's not that common. And a woman who doesn't mind fighting, right? Like it's like what's she doing? But that I'm pugilistic by nature, and I think it may be exciting, it may be upsetting, it may be alienating, but for whatever reason, it's attractive news.
Yeah, it's funny to me because as you're getting back into the fray, like it's so obvious there's going to be a moment like within a couple months where something's going to happen, like you're going to say something or one of your guests is going to say something, and you're going to be like, "Oh, why did I get back in?" But then an hour later, you'll be like, "This is exactly why I got back in." Like that's just the
I don't know.
negotiation.
I don't think that's going to happen to me. I mean, I do think they're going to come after me, knives
Yeah.
out, but I'm just so used to being attacked for everything I say. It's like at this point, I'm like, all right, what are you going to do? You're going to call me a mean name? What would that feel like? What would it feel like to see
Yeah.
myself called something horrible in every newspaper in the country? Oh, wait,
Yeah.
I've done that. In a way, it's sort of empowering because it's like they took their best shot. I'm here. I'm well. I'm happy. I'm about to launch something that I'm really into. And for once, Dave, like they can't get rid of me. They can't get rid of me. Like even if every sponsor I have is like, we're out, then I'll do subscription. The relationship will be between me and my audience, and they can't stop it, whether they want to or not. They can't stop it. I will have my say. I will have these discussions with interesting, provocative people who go against the grain. And if the audience is there, I will remain on the air.
You're speaking my language, sister. I may be
I
able to
know.
retire. I may be able to retire early now that you're getting back in.
What do you mean? We're going to go off to the sunset together in the digital sunset.
The digital sunset. There you go. All right, so let's talk a little bit about just like generally what's going on in the world right now. The racism stuff, the riots, the protests. We'll get to COVID in a sec. What do you make about what is happening here? It seems to me that we're just sort of watching the entire fabric that we've had here for 200, almost 50 years, basically unravel. That just sort of this idea that this whole thing was founded on racism, and that's the driving force behind everything. It strikes me as so dangerous, and yet it's so sort of accepted, which is kind of what you were saying before about that the left seems to have taken so much control of this stuff. What do you make of what's happening right now with race and the conversation?
Well, I think it's very frustrating for people like me, like you, who would like to be allies to people of color, to Black people, anybody who feels ostracized and suffers from racism. And yet there's no way in without somehow completely embracing the insane messaging from a group like Black Lives Matter. I think most normal people believe there is racism in the country, but that we are not a racist country. And they don't believe we were founded on racism. And even the New York Times with its 1619 project is slowly withdrawing all those
Yep.
claims from its piece without highlighting the withdrawal. They're just like, oh, never, that stuff was said about being founded on racism and the whole point about, like, keeping slavery. Never mind, eraser, which is so dishonest for a
That's
news
literally
organization.
happened. Yeah, literally happened.
For a news organization not to call attention to the deletion, that's a massive deletion, and it caused a lot of controversy. And they're just slowly taking it down. It's not true. The country wasn't founded to hold on to slavery, and it isn't a racist country. It did used to be. Back in slavery, Jim Crow, we had massive problems. But the thing that bothers me about what's happened over the past few months is it's based on a lie. It is based on a lie. Not the George Floyd case. That was disturbing. And that case will play out appropriately in the court. But the lie that police are systemically and as a group hunting Black people. It isn't true. And even, I think that was the term LeBron James used, something about how a Black person or Black man can't even go outside, where they're getting hunted. Wrong. And the data are there, and the people who cite the data get just so maligned. But if you look, like here in New York in the 1970s, the murders per year, the shootings per year were in the 400 plus. A couple of years ago, they were down to like 36, right? So it's like the behavior is going in the right direction. There are some bad apples. We all know that. In any profession there are, right? Certainly in our profession. But if you look at the actual data of the number of Black unarmed men, because it's always men, who get killed by police, compared to their number of interactions with police, their crime rate, it's not disproportionate, right? Because the studies will show, and Jason Riley of the Wall Street Journal, who is Black, has been doing a great job covering this, that over 50% of the violent crimes are committed by Black men. And that is why they have a higher interaction rate with police in part. And therefore the stakes go up, right? The stakes go up because given the history between them, it's fraught, for a negative encounter and then for potentially something deadly to happen. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying you can't attribute it to racism without factoring in crime rates.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about the media instead of nonstop yelling, check out our media playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, check out the full episode playlist. They're both right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.